Yo, what's up legends, welcome back to another video on the channel. We're going to jump into my brand new track, Old School. Yes, I've had a lot of tracks released recently. By the time you watch this, I might have another one coming next week for you guys as a little surprise. Something you guys have been wanting for a long ass time. I'm recording this video in advance. I'm trying to take a little bit of time off over Christmas. I don't really want to be sat in the studio making music, making videos, when I could just be sat eating chocolate all the time. So I'm trying to work in advance, give my future self a little bit of a break. So as you watch this video, Old School has been out for 7 days. I'm assuming it's gone to 200 million streams already. It hasn't? Okay. As long as you guys like it, I'm happy. Please let me know what you think of this style. It's a very old school Ollie James style, which I'm glad to bring back to one of my favorite labels, Revealed. It's a collaboration with Skylights. This is our second collaboration that we've released. It won't be the last. We work really well together. He's really good with the melody side and I'm really good with the drop side, so we kind of make tracks really easily and really quickly together. This took a little bit longer as we have another collaborator, Chris Kiss. We made the track and said, Chris, we need vocals, kill it, and he killed it. I told Skylights this guy was the man for the job, and every time he does vocals for a track, he kills it. He's one of the most professional guys, hardest working guys in the scene. I've got a lot of love for him, and I'll have a few more tracks with him coming up. So let's jump into the drop. It's a big project. It is a big project, but the drop's really, really simple. This drop is the kind of drop I was making for 4 or 5 years, right? This is my kind of sound when I started out. This is the thing that kind of made my name. This like triplet, like big, fully big room style. If you haven't already heard the drop, this is the drop. Old school. So ignore that little glitch there. Ever since I upgraded from Nexus 3 to Nexus 4, I've had nothing but issues with Nexus presets. So please don't cry. It's horrible to listen to, but you know what? It's just the way it is. When a new plugin comes out, it takes a little while to get its shit together. So basically, that was the drop. I wanted to do an old school drop, hence the name Old School. I wanted to show respect to all of the old styles, the music we really love, but I also wanted to make it kind of ravey at the same time, so a little bit more Ollie James in 2021. So that's why you've got the faster BPM and the kind of upgraded sound design. As you can see, the lead is a lot more cool than it would have been 4 or 5 years ago with this kind of sound. So we will go through all of that stuff now. Let's jump into the lead at first. Usually I do the kick stuff, but I think the lead is way more important for you guys. I actually made this lead the way I would have done 5, 6 years ago. So I wasn't looking in Serum. I wasn't looking in Spire. I wasn't looking in June, because I knew I would not get that old school sound in those plugins. These plugins are way too modernized. I wanted a sound which was like really, really old school, right? So I actually dug into my old school packs. Shout out to the legends Blur. These guys made sample packs all the time, especially around that kind of jungle terror kind of era. So I was downloading all their packs and I found some really sick sounds in it. For example, this one. What I'm going to do is turn off all of the processing just so you can hear what the sounds sound like as they are. So we have the main sound. This sound sounds like a nursery rhyme so far. With this one as well. And I think finally this one. So as you can see, you've got lots of pluck heavy sounds. I wanted a plucky kind of drop, right? This is that tsunami-esque sound. So I wanted that plucky feel. I have one VST lead which allows the whole thing to be a lot more smooth. If I used all samples, it would sound very rigid, not much movement at all, right? So adding a Nexus sound in there, a Nexus pluck, which sounds a lot more smooth because it's a VST, just kind of brings all the sounds together. So that's what they sound like with no processing, but let's look at what kind of magic we have going on the leads. So as you can tell by that big ass delay, there's a lot of processing going on. So these sounds start off pretty weak, but then they become something big. So we're going to look at the other sounds as well with processing now. It's just all these pluck sounds are kind of taken to the next level with all the processing. So all together we have this. Let me just stick all those sounds back on. As you can see, this clean saw-ish is the main sound. I actually used this in the track with Justin Prime as well. In the second part of the drop, really, really nice sound. I just added more sounds to make it a little bit different from that. So that is the first part of the drop. Let's look at the switch up. I decided to do a little switch up because I can, to be honest. There's no other way about it. I like to keep things really fresh in my tracks. I don't like to do drop, completely the same. I like to either do a switch, put a little cringy switch vocal in there and switch it up a little bit. It keeps it more exciting for a listener, right? Especially in a live set, when it completely switches like that, it's really cool. So in the second drop, the second part of the drop, this is the sounds. And this one is the main sound, I believe. Really, really sick. All together. So much power, so much attack, so much transient there. It's just crazy. So let's look at how I achieved that sound with these samples. We will look at the main bus channel, which is 6. This is where I'm going to put most of my processing. Then I'm going to have a bus, in 7. So I always do this. I always load my mixer track full of plugins because I'm distorting, I'm EQing, I'm doing all this stuff. Then I need another one because I need some extra space. So what I do is that is not what I do. What I do is I right click and route to this track only. So my 6 mixer track goes into 7, so I can do anything I want in 7 and it will affect the same in 6, right? So as you can see, I've got, I don't know, what is this, 20 plugins, whereas you're only allowed 12 on one mixer track. So it's really handy if you're putting loads of stuff on as well. So as you can see, so we're going to mute the lead bus right now. That's where I put all my effects and stuff. We're just going to look at the processing of the sound. So this is what we have. You'll notice there's no reverb. That's on there. So Camel Crusher. I honestly wish I got £1 every time I said Camel Crusher Blood Overdrive. I think I say it probably 400,000 times a year. Anyway, British Clean, Blood Overdrive. I'm using a lot less now. Like, this was a long time ago, this track. You know, when you sign a track, it comes out 8 months later. Nowadays, I'm using a lot less on this because I don't find it as clean as other distortion plugins. So bear that in mind. We have saturation from the Saturn. I'm doing a focus on the mid and the highs. Not crazy, though. We're only at about 2 dBs. This is a pluck sound, so we're going crazy on the attack with Transient Master. Usually, I'll go backwards and make the sustain less, which makes the sound more punchy. However, because this is a pluck sound, I wanted to make it feel longer. So what this does is it stretches the sound out, but doesn't kind of lose that cleanness to the sound. It just makes it longer and it makes it sound more like a VST, right? So that was really important there. We've got some nice little EQs, quite tame, just cutting the lows. This is a sample, so bear in mind that it's been probably processed heavily and the lows have been taken out anyway. So you don't really need to take 150, 200 hertz and below. I just felt like 95 was enough. S1 Imager, because I wanted to push this plucks to the side of the mix, make them a bit more wide and a bit more epic, because that's what the big room sound is. And a final EQ, so it's not crazy. But we get this power from the Blood Overdrive and the Saturn, right? Let's not beat around the bush. See how it just makes it more like mid heavy and just more full, and I love that. I love doing that to sounds. Then we look at this one. What do we do here? This is with it off and on. So as you can see here, we're focused on the reverb and the delay. We'll go through this one by one. We have the Arts Acoustic reverb really high on the wet, really high. Left quite a lot of high cut. Usually I'm around 6k. I wanted a little bit more here. It's a big, really big and heavy track, so I wanted to leave a little bit more of the high end in the reverb. We have a delay as well. These are the settings I use for the delay. The reason I have this is because it pushes the lead even wider. Like, big room is just all about like crazy power, right? And that's what I wanted with the leads. I wanted to push them as far as possible. So I have that signal in the sides of the mix. This thing always pops up and ruins everything. Anyway, we go into the reverb again. Yes, so we put the reverb on and it sounds just crazy. As you can see, this is how much the reverb is ducking. As you've probably seen before in my videos, I use the peak controller to basically identify the peaks. When it identifies a note hits, it takes away the reverb, because you don't want reverb going over the top of a note because it just makes it sound muddy and just gets lost. So this is a great way to kind of make it a smooth, clean mix, but also have that crazy reverb power. So as you can see, I'm playing with the volume knob to say how much I want it to duck. As you can see, if I exaggerate it, it's a lot more clean, but it does lack that energy, right? We go to the EQ. Now, this EQ is just, okay, man, I've got way too much high end. Let's duck a little bit. That's all that is. Nothing crazy. Endless smile for the build-ups. Another EQ. This is typical Ollie James, right? There's way too much high end. Let me take a little bit off. There's not enough high end. Let's put a little bit more on. So that's just my brain, unfortunately. Filter for the build-ups and stuff. And sidechain's quite important because this sidechain is really loose. So it's a high chain and it's not on 100%. We're on like 80%. This melody hits on the kick quite a lot. So there, the note hits on the kick, note hits on the kick, note hits on the kick, note hits on the kick. So if you've got a melody like that, if you have a really big sidechain, the melody's not going to hit as powerfully, or it's not going to slap as much. So I put less sidechain so it can still be sidechained a bit, so it won't clash with the kick, but it will also have its own presence when the kick is there. So that is, in terms of the lead, that's it. My biggest tip for you guys is look for those samples, man. Old samples are where you get those really cool pluck sounds, because this pluck sound is really big still. It's starting to come back a little bit. I've used them quite a lot actually myself. So look deeper. Don't look at, oh, Nexus, because no, you're not going to find the most cool and unique sounds there. But do a little bit of crate digging and you'll find some really sick sounds. So we have the lead. We have some automation on the reverb. As you can see, I just bring it up in the gap because this melody has a big ass gap in it. In addition to that, that is pretty much it. So now everything else in this drop is ear candy stuff. So let's listen to what goes on without the lead. Old school. So let's go into the kick. By the way, the sample pack for this one will be January, I believe. So stay tuned for that. Get all these sounds and more in January. In December, at the end of this month, you will be able to download the Glorious pack with all those crazy sounds in it. I treat my patrons nice because they treat me nice. So let's jump into the kick. We have a big hardstyle top kick. Not only has a nice click to it, it also has a little bit more of like grit. We have an old school cashmere kick, which is really flat, but with this on top, has a little bit of texture to it, and that, as you know, that's what I like. We have another top kick, which is kind of a hard style layer. Altogether, it sounds like a really old schooly kick. Oh, that bit's nice. We have the main component, which is this. I love this kick. Thank you to my boy Jaden Jax, now Crime Zine. He sent me this kick a long time ago, and this kick is crazy. Let's look at how I made it sound so big, because this is what it's like usually. As we can see, we push it to the next level. So, parametric EQ, this is me picking out parts of the bass kick that I want to like exaggerate. So high, mids, and bass frequencies. That's where I really wanted to bring out in this sound, because I think the sub was good. We've got this glitch, so it goes boom, 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 boom. So it creates a little bit of movement. We've got another EQ focused on the mids, and then a slam on the highs, a G tune just to double check that I have the right key. And I've used a FabFilter Satin, which is not something I use a lot on a big room sample, but it gives it a lot of texture there. Again, another EQ. This EQ is like, you know, the hardstyle guys will just have EQ, 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 just crazy boosts. I wanted to really push this sound as much as I possibly could without distorting it. We have a sidechain as well, so that the punchy kick can be completely bypassed. I want to put my own punchy kick in there because I feel like I can make them more heavy. And then a final EQ, giving this. And this sounds crazy on its own. A little fancy reverse, because I'm fancy like that. I like to mix things up a lot. All you need to do is right click, left click, sorry, and click reverse, and boom, you've got a reverse sound. Just a little bit of tinkering with the in knob, and you should get this. Really cool, man. It just creates just that extra level of sound design that most people wouldn't try. We have this crazy wobble sound, which is from it's from either one of my Patreon packs. As you know, I use my Patreon sounds a lot in my tracks. That's why I like to get rid of them after 30 days, because if I didn't, everybody would have these sounds, and I would lose my own signature sounds. So yeah, that's what I've got. This crazy sound, but I also did a little reverse technique that I just showed you.